Welcome back to Sports Will Save Us All. I am your host, Sasha Graham. This is the podcast where we like to say sports are just the beginning.
They are, yes. The beginning of something.
The beginning of something great. With me in studio today is the wonderful Steve Bollinger because we are doing another special episode of Sports on Screen.
We are. Yes, we are very excited today. We actually got some input from our fans who put out a request to do the Varsity Blues documentary.
Actually, I have the review right here
Do you
because
have it?
it
Yeah.
was an Apple Podcast review.
And I feel really badly because we went a totally different direction, but...
No, wait, here's what she said. So this was Tina TCN, and this was on Apple Podcasts, and the review is titled Blue Crush! Exclamation point. First time listening and was so excited to see a Blue Crush review. What a fun episode. If you haven't done it already, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on Operation Varsity Blues about the college. Oh, wait, sorry, I took a screenshot and not the whole thing.
Admissions scandal. I'm going to go with that. That's what it's going to say.
Yeah, we should take like call-ins about like predictions about what her next word was. I thought I was being such a great host
It's
by
a
getting
Mad
that
Lib
all
episode. I'm
queued
just going to
up.
finish it for you.
Okay, hold on. It's almost there. Okay, so this one, now I'm seeing other reviews that are so funny. One of them that said, first of all, I'm not a sports fan. Okay.
We're glad you found us.
Here's what she said. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on Operation Varsity Blues about the college admissions scandal.
Yes.
You win. And now that I think about it, the original Varsity Blues movie would be a blast too.
There we go.
Two roads diverged in a wood.
So clearly, Sasha sent me the original screenshot because I did not know that this was actually part of the original recommendation. I thought somehow we stumbled on this from the Varsity.
I like that I've made this mistake now at least twice.
Yeah. It's like one of 5 audibles we've had so far in the last 15 minutes.
Uh-huh.
So.
It's we're I was going to say batting 1,000, but then we're mixing our sports metaphors. Okay, so we are talking about Varsity Blues.
We are.
I am going to just say this right up front.
Put it out there.
I've been thinking a lot lately about fun and happiness.
Okay.
Fun being enjoying something for what it is right now in this moment.
Got it.
Happiness being more of a goal, right? You eat really healthy so that you can be happy later, right?
There we go.
Feel good about yourself. This movie delivered on both of those.
Oh
fronts.
my gosh. I didn't see this coming anywhere. I thought this was going to be another The Replacements, Me versus You. And here we go. So
No.
I cannot wait.
Oh my gosh, Steve, this movie, Varsity Blues, is so freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
And yet, I loved it so much.
Yeah.
It was, okay, so get into it. What is it about?
So get into it. So it's like many football movies of the genre and the era.
1999.
Yeah, 1999, early 2000s. Star quarterback, high school football team, small town Texas.
Small town Texas.
Starting quarterback, king of the town. What happens? He gets hurt.
Yep.
And then it's up to that second string guy to come in and hopefully pull the team through and all the drama that comes with that.
All that drama.
Mox.
I nicknamed this movie Sex and Football in Small Town Texas.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's accurate.
All right. And thanks for listening, folks.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we've got. It is. Yes. And it certainly checked that box as far as things for us. I mean, I don't think we've had a movie with quite that much nudity in it.
I mean, who doesn't like those two things, right?
I know.
Like,
all I could think of was Young Woman in the Sea and thinking like, this is a very different movie.
I think that it is just a real testament to how multifaceted we are.
That's
that we could find both of these movies, both
and we can clearly
enjoyable and
find some really
entertaining.
good things out of it. So
Right?
I like this for you. This is a good look because this is, I think, like us talking about finding that goodness in these movies, like you said, right? Like finding the good in it. Even if there's some super campy, questionable parts to the movie.
Right. So right up front, I did want to say, so there is a character named Tweeter. And he is immensely problematic. And you, as a fellow feminist, I am sure were equally as offended as I was. And I feel like if we could just agree right now that Tweeter is somebody who has spent the rest of his life in jail for the many crimes he has committed and continued to commit. And also that the things that made him cute in this movie, including a butt you could bounce a quarter off of, right?
Got it.
Are a lot less cute when, you're a 22-year-old abusive alcoholic who peaked when you were 17 in high school.
No, it was, poorly written for sure. And this is where I knew we were going to go early on because I've also been trying to change the way that I look at things. I know we've talked about in previous episodes, this idea that something didn't age well.
Right.
And I don't like that phrase anymore because things just age.
Yeah.
Right. And in the 90s, it happened and
Yeah.
it was part of mainstream. Doesn't make it okay now.
Right.
But I don't like this idea of aging poorly because I think of like female actresses, right? Like we don't want to say they're aging poorly. We're just aging. And so it's just things just change.
What about male actors?
Well, you know as best as I do, they don't get the same crappy attention. Like, I mean, yeah, like, you're absolutely right. My point exactly. And so, yes, this movie has certainly aged.
Yeah.
That's for sure. You know, there were parts of it and expressions in it that in the beginning I was like, oh my gosh, like this is going to be tough. And then luckily they did get away from it for the bulk of the rest of the movie, with one exception of Tweeter.
Yeah.
But even in the movie, they acknowledged that he was going to jail. So maybe that was the thing. I don't know. So.
Yeah. Anyway, so I just thought we'd get that out of the way so that we don't have to address it as we go. And because it's pretty terrible. So the cast of this movie was pretty amazing.
Right.
Paul Walker plays the original star quarterback. R.I.P. He
that happened a lot in this movie. I don't know if
I did know that. And that was another thing that I thought we could just agree not to talk about.
Okay,
Because
we're just doing the happiness thing. That's why we started with the happiness. Okay.
Focus on happiness.
Everyone lived happily ever after for as long as that might have been.
Except for Tweeter.
Yeah, he went to jail.
Except for Tweeter.
Miserable existence.
Miserable. So Paul Walker played the star quarterback. Yeah. Mox was played by James Vanderbeek of Dawson's Creek fame. This was Ali Larter's first role. She played Darcy, otherwise known as Whipped Cream Bikini.
Yes.
Amy Smart was in this movie.
Yeah.
I read that Amy Smart and Ali Larter, were very good friends, which makes me really happy.
Yes,
right? See more happiness,
yes.
and continue to be really good friends.
This is fun.
And then the coach was played by John Voight.
Right.
And
not fun.
Not fun. The opposite of fun.
Kind of a curmudgeon.
That's generous. Don't you think?
I thought we were trying to be positive, but okay, yeah. Let's go deep into him. Yeah, no, he's a really crappy dude. 100%.
I don't understand where the line is here, Sasha.
I know, you're keeping me on my toes, and they're exposed. So,
I mean, it's pretty much summer in Arizona. It's appropriate. It's appropriate.
It is. Yeah, and he's just a terrible coach, right? And everything that you and I don't believe in when it comes to youth sports.
Well, and it was interesting because, when this movie came out in 1999. I feel like so many of the themes that they were exploring, and this was one of the things that kind of impressed me, was, those were just kind of givens, like you had these kind of abusive coaches and nobody said anything and nobody stood up to them as long as they were winning.
Right. And that was in the movie too. It was multi-generational.
Yeah.
I mean, Mox's dad had the same thing.
Yeah.
And just the abuse that continued on throughout that, because this guy was on this pedestal from winning all of these. And I noticed they weren't even state championships. They're just some district banners. Yeah. Whatever.
Right. I mean, a win's a win.
I guess.
Which actually, let's skip to the end on that right now, because strangely, it was another district championship that they won at the end. It wasn't state. And then Mox, there's a voiceover and he's like, I never played football again. I was like,
that was it. They didn't make the playoffs.
So you didn't
One
go
loss.
to state?
That was it. No other opportunities.
I mean, but he didn't even
they didn't
play
have a head
in
coach.
the playoffs?
So maybe technically they had to pull out because they didn't have a head coach.
Oh.
Remember, he just packed his bags or his boxes with his trophies and
that same night.
Just went and did it. What a horrible dude.
Right? I know.
John Voight, good actor, though. Did a good job.
Did you see Holes, where he played Mr. Sir?
No.
It's a Louis Sacker book. It's great, and you should watch it.
I know I'm supposed to have watched it and heard it and done all the things. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, I know it.
Tiny bit
no, like when you brought it up, I was like, oh man, yeah,
like,
definitely.
Shoot.
Yeah, I know it. Nope, haven't done it, haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's like when somebody asks if you've read Slaughterhouse-Five.
Right.
And,
yeah.
And Mox has, because he is the guy who's reading Kurt Vonnegut
in his playbook
on the bench during a game.
That. I did.
Well, there is something kind of charming about it.
Yeah,
he's
smart.
Okay, so backing up just a little bit,
from the end of the movie.
We're going to rewind just a little bit. This is a super organized review, Sports Fam. So Mox inexplicably never plays, right? No, that's not inexplicable. He doesn't play because there is this, incredible all-state quarterback, right? But he sits the bench. Inexplicably, he's an extraordinary football player.
Right. Like he should have been at a different school. They should have transferred him someplace else. Yeah. From the bench, he threw the ball like to the far hash to a referee.
I mean, like
hurt
200 yards.
Yeah, hit him right in the tummy.
It like made a turn and then hit the ref. It went around the field twice. So Lance, the star quarterback, very early on is injured, and so they're putting injections in his knee, and Mox sees this happen, right?
Yeah,
like ooh, yeah, that did not look good.
No.
But Mox then sees this, and you can see the disapproval in his eyes, and the coach like slowly closes the door. Well, then what happens is we got to talk about Billy Bob.
Billy Bob.
Tell me about Billy Bob.
Billy
Steve.
Bob is the hero of the movie.
Yeah.
And also the tragedy of the movie too, in more ways than one. I mean, really truthfully.
Yeah.
And throughout the movie, he's just the very, very overweight lineman who gets concussed who knows how many times in his life. And just genuinely has a very believable nervous breakdown about 2/3 of the way through the movie.
Right.
Because of all this head trauma. I mean, like, it's clearly that he's had this problem and he just wants to love it again, but he's conflicted because he also wants to be good. And, you know, he's both the comic relief and a very serious piece of the movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if this movie is deep enough to have threads, but if it did, he would be a deep thread.
I mean, I think that's why I liked it, was because it felt like it did.
Yes.
You know, it felt like, I mean, we've all seen that fat character played for laughs, right? And they've got him in that first scene and he's like drinking the syrup straight out of the bottle, and his pet, instead of having a dog, he has a pig, right? And that's funny because he's fat, right? Yep. Yeah, like it's ridiculous. But then when you start seeing this story arc where he's like really suffering with, you know, this brain injury, and like then, yeah, like you said, I was impressed.
Wow.
I was impressed.
I really was too. Yeah.
Okay, so what happens? How does his concussion result in Lance's injury?
So he's concussed, and at the snap of the ball, he just literally falls
coach
over.
forces him to play.
Yeah, makes him go out and play.
The nurse says you shouldn't play.
Yeah, and in, you know, true to character, he wants to play too, right? Yeah. I mean, that's one of the good and bad things about football. And, you know, both my boys played football, so I am very conflicted with this. Yeah. And a lot of sports. And so wants to get in there despite being injured, goes in, literally falls over, and then the quarterback is just blown up. Yeah. And he blows out his knee. Right. Which in this movie just means laying it gently over to the side.
Right. And
no money for special effects. Just my knee. It's bent at a very gentle angle over this direction.
Except the real injury may have happened when the EMTs come out to the field and load him onto the stretcher, and they like put
lifted
their arm
by his broken knee. Yeah, I noticed. Yeah, it was fantastic. I know it.
It was beautiful.
It really was. Yeah. And so
I was like, whose nephew is playing the EMT?
Yeah, that's where it all starts, right? Because he played when he shouldn't have.
Right.
And let down. And that started all of the deepness of his character, I think, started then, because the guilt he felt for the old quarterback getting hurt, the protection he wanted to now offer as a result of that to his new quarterback. And it just put him in an impossible position where he just wanted to play until he got his cats scanned.
Forgot about that part.
He scanned his cat so he could play.
Okay, so
the things that stick in my mind are just like, that was it.
I had 100% forgotten about that. Let me move you forward to the party after. Maybe we're moving back. I don't know. It was a party that they went to, and it was where they're playing drinking games, and it must have been after that first game, because Lance and Darcy, the head cheerleader, of course, played by Ellie Lauder, are hooking up in the laundry room. Meanwhile, Billy Bob, who you're talking about, was drinking way, way too much, and he's getting ready to throw up. And Mox says to Billy Bob, "You thinking about calling some dinosaurs?" Did you hear this line?
I heard the line. I hope you looked this up, because I did not.
I did.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is where it originated from, but according to Urban Dictionary, it means
very reliable source.
I mean, it was the only source at my disposal. According to Urban Dictionary, it means over drinking and having to throw up.
Really?
So now I want to have a circumstance under which I can use this phrase.
I'm going to a graduation party tonight. I'll let you know how it goes.
I mean, okay, here's what you say. You thinking about calling some dinosaurs?
Calling some dinosaurs. Was there any context?
No.
It's just means throwing up.
I looked it up because I was like, did I hear that right?
I heard it too, and I was just like, okay, throwaway line, whatever.
Much.
Yeah, there's so much going on at this party that is.
All right. So actually, yeah, this is all before the injury, I guess, because then they go to the barbecue. We have to talk about the barbecue.
Yes.
Because they're at this barbecue, and this is when you really start to see one of the big themes of the movie, which is all of these, particularly dads, reliving their glory days, right? Yes. It's very, very clear that high school was the very best time of their lives.
Right.
And somehow Mox has perspective. And he's like, I don't want your life. I don't want this to be the best time of my life. I don't really like football that much.
He basically said, That's your dream, Dad, not mine.
This
is like where it came from. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, they literally spelled it out in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, in that barbecue scene, it was funny because at first when I was watching the movie, I was thinking to myself, this is so campy, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
it was just overdone. And then I started watching it and actually thinking to myself, it might be farcical. Like intentionally, they were telling these actors to just overdo this thing because it kind of had that actual cerebral comedy feel to it. And it's an MTV film. And so it's not outside of the realm of possibilities that they were actually trying to make this kind of a period piece about what it was like.
I'm going to believe that to be true.
Thank you. My God, this is the greatest movie we've ever watched.
I really did feel, I was like, this movie has a weird smartness about it. Like it comes across as really dumb, like, and so many tropes, and the football player with the heart of gold and whatever, and the Billy Bob and the girl in the whipped cream bikini, but then there were these things where I was like, this is really weird.
Because they did that weird, like you've seen it in some of the horror movies where they panned to everybody at the barbecue who was just laughing hysterically, and they did like 5 different people, just like it was panning in a circle. I'm going, somebody thought about this, right? This wasn't just something.
Yeah.
The other thing I liked about that scene and Lance's character in general was that they didn't take the cheap way in making him a crappy dude.
Totally. 100%.
Right? Like he was still, because like I was waiting for them to get to go to the hospital and there'd be some kind of beef or something. It was just like they were buds. I loved that about it because it really did make it about the kids versus the coaches and the adults. I mean, that's what this whole movie I think is about, is kids and adults.
Yep.
I know.
And kids becoming adults.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And
they're
like
in transition.
What path you're going to take. So that barbecue had one of my favorite lines of the movie.
Okay,
and
I'm ready.
You had to really pay attention to get it. But so Lance's dad is just a douchebag, right?
Yes.
Like he is living through his son. He thinks his son is the greatest thing. He wants everybody to know that this is his son and that his son is the greatest thing. So they're at the barbecue and he is bragging to Mox's dad. So Mox has not yet become the star quarterback. He's been riding pine for, all 4 years. And he leans down to his other son, right? So his other son is sort of crouched on the ground beside him. And he says, he's telling Mox's dad about how they're holding him back. He's going to repeat a grade so that he'll be bigger and stronger for freshman year tryouts. So the kid playing the younger brother, Paul Walker's younger brother, is Jesse Plemons, first of all, which is amazing, from Breaking Bad.
From Friday Night Lights.
He
played in the spoof, like it's like I saw him in there. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fantastic. He played
Landry in Friday Night Lights. He was amazing when he was older, but here he's younger. So this is like the precursor. But then the dad like tousles his hair and says, 8th grade ain't so bad, is it, son? 8th grade is the worst. It is absolutely so to your point of like this kind of smart writing where it was like, I was like, that's tongue in cheek. Like that's
even Mox's little brother. Like they made him this weird, like, right? But also he was the opposite of all of them. Right? Yeah. I mean, he was this maybe religious zealot and just like not interested in football, even in the slightest bit.
But didn't you think that he was acting like a religious zealot just to get under their skin?
Oh, 100%.
Right?
And that's
when
what
he walks out with a cross on his back and he's trying to eat
crucified himself, right? With ropes, not nails. Right. And then comes down to breakfast and then he's leading some other people.
His cult.
What I liked about that though was it for me, and again, maybe we're really overanalyzing it, but I'm thinking he's now kind of that even next generation, and he's just completely disconnected from this world of football. Like he could not be more disconnected from it in just the zaniest, craziest way. Yeah. But he's not even the one thing he did was when he clapped when they did finally win the last game. Yeah. They showed him in the audience. But other than that, he never had anything to do with football ever. And I loved that.
I like that you just called the crowd the audience.
Oh, the audience. The audience at a football game.
when they came out for an encore.
Right, yeah. They just wouldn't stop clapping. Yeah.
It's funny because I think that you're onto something, because Mox was at the beginning totally not into football. They made this very obvious. He's reading his book on the sidelines. His girlfriend she's actually Lance's sister, which I thought was kind of realistic. I was like, that's how it all sort of works. Everybody knows each other in small towns and whatever.
Yeah.
But she is definitely not, the cheerleader, and she's not into this whole scene. But when Mox starts getting a taste of this glory, right? That first time that he like hucks a pass in a game and he connects and everybody cheers and he sort of looks at the crowd and he's like, shit, like this, right? Like, and so you can see that change happening in him. And then like when he gets interviewed for the news, right? And he sort of gives that, cliched, like, I'm just one man. And he's like giving,
I want to thank my team. There's only one of me. And he referred to himself by his first name.
Yeah.
I loved that. And I loved right after that, talking about his girlfriend, Jules, because they were at school and he made some horrible comment to her about putting on a dress.
Oh, yeah,
and she said one of my favorite lines in the movie was, it's awfully expensive to look cheap. I was like, oh my God, that was great. I know it. And that was kind of the point where I started thinking this is actually a movie to watch because, I mean, what a difference in that 30 seconds of him being this kind of, chauvinistic, like, oh, I'm the star quarterback. You don't dress like that. And then she comes with the perfect one-liner, just putting him squarely back in his place.
Well, and like, if you think about alternatively what could have happened, like she could have had her makeover, right? She's a gorgeous girl, but she's wearing like her little cardigan sweaters and her jeans and whatever. But if she'd come out in the next scene dressed in her, little wrap dress or whatever, like her,
which they didn't do.
Dress.
And I loved it. I know it. It was, and that was, the further I got into the movie, the more I was like, okay, with the exception of the few things we noted, this is very realistic to real high school, right? Where like, you've just got everybody doing their thing. Everyone's just trying to get to the end of it, just survive. And I loved that line. When she said that about being cheap, I was like, oh, that was so great.
So great.
It really was.
Okay, let's talk about two of my favorite characters' moments, which are Darcy and her whipped cream bikini, and Miss Davis, the sex ed teacher. Who
I had forgotten about Miss Davis from when I originally watched this in 1999.
Well, it got overshadowed a little bit by the aforementioned bikini scene.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's talk about your favorite scenes.
Okay, so when Mox is promoted to QB1, suddenly he's getting all this attention, including from Lance's supposed girlfriend, Darcy, who invites him over, right?
Yeah, she does.
And
for ice cream sundaes.
For ice cream sundaes, right? And initially, he's resisting and he's not planning on going over there. But then he has this moment where he says, what has being good ever gotten me?
Right.
Hey, again.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that sort of like
what person hasn't thought that? Right.
Existential question where you're just like, okay, I make all of these good choices.
Well, and him at the convenience store struggling over buying the condoms. And he's just like, I mean, it was this whole thing back and forth. Like, I mean, he was really trying to figure out what to do. Right? It was great. Yeah.
So he shows up at her house.
He does.
He does go over there and tell me what happens.
So she offers to make him an ice cream sundae and leaves the scene and then returns, and she has created a bikini out of whipped cream and a couple of cherries.
And that's all.
And that's
she's
it.
Wearing.
Yeah, quite literally that is the end of it. There are no ice cream sundaes.
It is the most heroic scene in the movie that he is able to resist.
Right.
This
again, woman. Just like the comment with Jules, it's this thing that feels like it's going to be this really terrible thing, cheating on his girlfriend and everybody making bad decisions, and turns into this immensely heartfelt thing where he's putting a blanket over her and he's like, we've known each other forever. And she just wants to get out of this small town and she's lost. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is so great. Like, nothing horrible happened from this. I mean, it really just was a whipped cream bikini. And then it turned into a really nice conversation.
Which is so nice.
It was.
Which is so nice. And somehow, like, it just brought them closer as friends.
Yeah. It really did.
Like, yeah. And, that scene now is just iconic.
It really is. Yeah. No, I remember that was the thing that everybody talked about when that movie came out. For sure.
Yeah. It's have you ever seen this thing where they talk about when in order to shine a light on the ridiculousness of asking people how they knew when they were gay, like now they'll put up like little table tent cards in cafes and things that say, when did you know you were straight? And when I saw that whipped cream bikini scene, I was like, oh.
I was a senior in high school. So
this is when Steve knew he was straight.
Quite possibly so. Yeah, but that's all everybody talked about. It was like, oh my gosh, did you see Varsity Blues that scene? Yeah.
I mean, it was a smart scene.
Before I had rewatched it, I could not have told you about the heartfelt part that came after that for sure. I mean,
see, because now we're on the other side of all.
No, 100%. Yeah. And that's why this is actually such a good movie is that it spoke to me in a totally different way then than it does now.
Yeah. No, it was something. Okay. So my second
favorite, you picked a couple of them. I'll tell you what. All right,
I'll
let's
tell
go.
you what. Miss Davis. So, first of all, she is a teacher at the high school.
Correct.
She's in the classroom and I can't remember now what she's writing on the board, but it's something about sex ed.
Yes.
I can't remember.
I think she's finishing up writing human reproduction.
Yeah. And she turns to the classroom and in order to demystify the words, she starts just saying, as you texted me, actually helpfully, penis, 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 penis.
Yes.
And then she makes them all repeat
it. Makes them recite it.
Vagina, vagina, vagina,
like
vagina.
They're in the first ever Spanish class.
And now that would be a Spanish class right there.
Yeah.
It was so, I loved that scene so much because it illustrated so many things that I love. First of all, demystifying the biology of sexual reproduction, which I think helps everybody, right? That you got to be able to talk about these things with kids, especially these kids, because as I mentioned, sex and football, like that's what this is about. There is a scene, we're not talking about Tweeter, but there is a scene where he looks down his pants and is like, what the F is that, right? Like he has some sort of STI, so he's going to need like this education. But also like it is just such a great illustration of the divide between teenagers and adults, right? Like you go from that mystery and that embarrassment to where Miss Davis is, right? Where she's like, we got to talk about these things.
Right.
But
meanwhile, they're all hooking up, making whipped cream bikinis anyways.
Totally.
But when they're together, it creates this awkward, and she did such a good job of, again, that campy delivery in the whole thing with her little fake Texas accent. And it was just such a fantastic scene. It was.
And then she asked for euphemisms for erections.
Yeah.
And somebody offers up boner. And then she turns to Mox, and Mox gives her a list of like
a mile long, right? Just keeps going.
Succession.
Yes. You remember the last one?
They're so funny. Pedro. And she looks at him like, Pedro? And he just looks fully confident, which again, it was funny.
It was really, really funny. It was.
It was so funny. So that actress who plays Miss Davis, I wanted to give her a little shout out. Her name is Toni Perensky. She also, in this same year that Varsity Blues came out, she played Slim Shady's mom in the music video for My Name Is.
You also texted me that too.
Well, because that's huge.
That's huge. I know it.
What a year she had.
Yeah.
She, turns out, is like a classically trained Canadian actress.
And we haven't even delved yet into her other career.
Oh, we're getting there.
Movie.
Don't you worry. Don't you worry, Steve. But the fact that like she was this, Shakespearean classically trained actress, and these are the two things that I'm giving her props for. I don't know. I feel kind of good about that.
I do too, because I think now, having rewatched this movie, I underestimated it originally.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things that, if I hadn't gone and rewatched it, I probably would have been like, oh, okay. But I mean, she was a part of something pretty cool.
Right. Well, and then like iconic with Eminem and My Name Is, that's massive.
Right.
Right. I mean, you can do words. So her real name, like I said, is Toni, and it's Tonie.
Okay.
Right. Which I feel like I should apologize to any listeners whose name is spelled that way, but it's kind of a stripper spelling of Toni.
I'll give you that.
Don't you think?
Yeah. Okay.
Like it's probably short for Antonia or something.
Yeah.
So then what happens?
Well,
so Mox, what does Mox do?
Mox decides they need some team bonding, and they need to all meet up at the mini mart at 10 o'clock. And he takes them to the most aptly named gentleman's club.
The landing strip.
Which is the landing strip.
Yeah.
Also,
I felt like there was a landing strip in something else. Was there a landing strip in Friday Night Lights?
Yeah, it was exactly the same thing. It was the local strip club in Friday Night Lights as well.
I was trying.
Yeah, there's a whole subreddit about the connections between these two, the movie and the show, that I started reading.
That's hilarious. And also hilarious that I was like, do I know the landing strip from some other part of my life?
Like maybe downtown Tempe? I don't know. So yes, so they go to the landing strip, and of course, because they're the heroes of the small town, everything's on them. It's comped. The owners are happy to have them there.
Okay, I'm going to stop you for just a second because it felt out of character for me that Mox would take them to a strip club. That felt weird, right?
It was forced, and I think it was a necessary thing to get them to go see the part I haven't given up yet, which is the fact that their teacher works there at the landing strip.
To Van Halen's Hot for Teacher.
Of course.
Of
like,
course.
And what, I mean, it was perfect. The song was written for the show or vice versa. I mean, and so you're right. It did feel kind of strange because I saw more of like all right, we're going to grab some beers and go sit in a pickup truck on the field in the 50-yard line thing.
Right.
But
also,
know. His inner tweeter came out, I guess.
Right. But also in Texas at this time, because I know that in Texas for a long time, you only had to be 18 to drink. Okay. But I looked and I was like, in 1999, they had already passed. Like it was already 21. Right. So that seemed a little weird to me too. I was like, they all have fake ID, but everybody knows who they are.
I think it was more just to really drive home this point that they can get away with anything.
Oh.
That they are that they're put on such a pedestal in their town that they can even go to strip clubs at 18. Because I noticed they made a point for someone to say, "Oh, I'm 18," and, like in the thing, so that they weren't minors.
Oh, right.
But I think that's why they did that, because that was the same thing they did in Friday Night Lights 2, which was like it was used as this way to just show how out of control it can be in these small towns with these football players.
Well, and then, I mean, just again, like thinking about the psychology of that, like you get away with anything, you can do anything, everybody knows you, everybody is like elevating you, and then it just comes crashing down. Yeah. Right? Like you just, I mean, not to get too deep here, but. Ugh.
No, it does. And I've talked about this with a lot of families who have young athletes, and it's that conversation about your expiration date.
Yeah.
And how it exists for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's just figuring out.
I haven't gotten there yet.
You're not there. Well, of course you haven't, my dear. Like we all know that. But
I tell you often.
For mere mortals, there is a time when it stops.
Yeah.
And that's what I think this whole movie was about. Yeah. Was this idea that this was going to stop. I mean, Mox apparently didn't go to the playoffs, and he was just done after that game, and that was it. And
he did go to Brown, though.
He did. Yes. Yeah. As long as they didn't mess up his scholarship.
Do you know who had not hit her expiration date yet? Was Miss Davis.
No.
Because tell the listeners who have all seen this movie already, but tell them what Miss Davis does, how she appears in this movie next.
She's working at the landing strip as a dancer.
So she comes out.
She's not a hostess. She's not a bartender. No. She comes out and disrobes and then turns around to see her students at the table right up front.
Table full of her students.
Yep. And then winds up hanging out with them till 7:00 in the morning, apparently.
Again, like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just in an exceptionally good mood, but when I watched this movie twice.
Right.
But one of the things I really liked was that she didn't like grab her clothes and go running off in embarrassment and shame.
Right.
Like she lived up to her sex ed like persona and instead was like, yeah, I'm going to perform.
Right.
Like,
well, because they were the ones out of place, not her. And I think that was the whole thing. Is it was just kind of like a
excellent point.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't her thing to be weird about. It was them, and then they did because they're the ones freaking out, like, oh my gosh, it's her. Like, and so it was for a strip club scene in a high school movie. It was well done.
It was. I agree. It was
something that is inappropriate on so many levels. It was really well done.
There was a little foreshadowing of that scene too, because at one point in the parking lot, she drives by after a game. She's driving like a convertible white BMW, and Mox says something about, that's a pretty nice car for a teacher, right?
Yeah. Oh, it was so funny.
So then when she came out, you're like, oh, this is where this isn't educator money that's buying the BMW. Doing. Yeah. So funny. So they have this big bonding night, but when they walk out of the landing strip, going to regret saying that.
It's just the name.
They walk out and it's daylight. They've been there partying all night long. Timeline is a little squishy here because somehow they have a game that night.
Right.
So I'm not sure. Maybe they were partying on a Thursday night.
I guess so.
Maybe.
It's possible.
It is small town Texas. Not a lot.
But that would also mean that she would have to go to work the next day too. So you wouldn't think she'd be picking up a Thursday shift. But.
Huh. I mean, you got to make those BMW payments.
Yeah. It was actually a Saline Mustang. I wanted that car so bad in 1999. So bad.
If you had only worked at the landing strip.
I still would not have had that car. I can promise you that. But thank you nevertheless.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I believe in you. So they all are horribly hungover.
Right.
And then they have to go play this game. Right. So it does not go well.
Nope. Only game they lost.
Yeah. So they lose the game. The coach is, as we mentioned, we haven't spent a lot of time on him. No. He's horribly abusive. he is there. There's also that weird generational thing that we sort of touched on, which is that the dads are like, yeah, he did the same thing to me. Like he'll stand up to him eventually, or, you know, whatever. Like it was a weird, like if it happened to me, then it happens to you. And that makes it okay.
Yeah. And his level of negativity just comes all out after that game. Right. Because he is just grabbing face masks, screaming, laying into everybody about ruining his perfect season.
Right.
And, you know, that's when you just really can, I mean, as if it wasn't already clear, you're going, okay, this is what this guy is doing. Like he is, I think of all the adults, he is at the top of this pyramid of living his own glory days.
Yeah.
I actually looked up how much it costs to make a full-size bronze statue of oneself.
Oh.
Because they had one there. And I was like, I'm just so interested in this. Yeah. At least $20,000. For what it's worth.
Was that in $1999 or today dollars?
I think that's today dollars, which seemed low to me. I thought, I just would have thought bronze, but you know, they just, I think that's what, I mean, he was.
So random.
It was. These are the things that I think of when I'm watching these movies. Like my notes, it's actually better sometimes that I don't have them because my mind goes in these weird directions. But I think he was the villain, but he was just the amalgamation of all of the adults in this town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He really was. He was the worst in all of them.
Yeah.
Just put together, and it makes you kind of wonder, like, which direction did it go? Did he create this because he's been in that town for 30 years, creating all of these abused young men that are just then thrown out into the world? He probably coached Tweeter's dad, right? So I mean, like, where did this really start?
Right.
So yeah, and it was just really terrible. And I think as passionate as you and I are about sports and youth sports in general, that was the perfect villain. Yeah. I mean, he did everything right to be wrong in that movie. Yeah. It was just, I mean, he had no endearing qualities whatsoever.
Totally.
The way that he flipped that switch once Lance got hurt. Mm-hmm. And he took Mox and hit him on the butt and said, don't, I'm right behind you, son.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, yeah, whatever. You're just riding his ass. Yeah. Like, I mean, like so bad. And now all of a sudden he's your guy. So yeah, he did a great job though.
It's funny. I was just talking to a friend of mine whose son plays, I'm just going to say, a high school sport here in Arizona. And she was telling me about how one of the dads whose son graduated last year has been showing up to all of the games and has been very, very involved with yelling at the officials, not officiants. Right. There are not weddings being performed. Officials at this game. And then she told me the other day that he started showing up to the away games as well. Geez. Yeah. But I was really thinking about this guy. He's somebody who I think you know. But I was really thinking about this guy when I was watching this movie. Right. And I was thinking about the hole that it leaves when we're out of a sport. And then when you're the parent and your kid is out of the sport, right? That it's a real thing. It's a real thing. And so this movie
and I've seen it with my involvement in sports too. I've seen these families, just on social media and stuff that you're kind of wondering when this is going to now be their adult child's thing,
right?
And not their thing. I mean, I think a lot of people look at the time when their kids move out as a time to rekindle with your partner,
right?
And it just seems like sometimes they just keep following this kiddo, and I don't know.
Yeah,
hope it all works out.
Yeah, I do too.
Find that happiness.
I do too. Find that happiness. Maybe they should watch Varsity Blues.
Everyone should watch Varsity Blues. Right? As long as you're old enough and you've asked your parents' permission. If you're not, because there's a lot of questionable stuff in there. But yeah, it was
not according to Miss Davis.
No, Miss Davis is just saying, "Hey, this is it. This is biology.
Very sex positive.
Yeah, this is biology." Still, you should ask permission. Have a good conversation with your parents about it. Right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Or I think that's always a great idea.
Or do what everybody else does and just sneak away.
What we haven't talked about is the music in this movie,
right?
Which is amazing. Green Day, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Reverend Horton Heat, Third Eye Blind, AC/DC, Foo Fighters, Offspring. So that was pretty impressive too. Right. And I think spoke to both the MTV connection and, our point that this was not just another teen movie.
No, it wasn't. Right? But it also was.
Yeah.
And it got me thinking too. This is the deep part that I wanted to go into about this movie. I can't think of films.
It's amusing to me that we haven't gotten to the deep part yet.
Right? No. Well, because I was thinking about these kinds of movies in general. Mm-hmm. And these rite of passage, high school geared, little bit sexual, little bit of drug abuse. A little bit sexual. But I can't think of one of recent.
Right.
And I wonder if that's problematic artistically and generationally, because, and I don't know if it's maybe the shift to streaming and what, all the different things going on in film.
Yeah.
But I can't think of those big movies like American Pie, Varsity Blues, all these movies. And you can go all the way back, well into the 80s, 70s. I mean, like they keep going backwards, but I just don't know. And I hope I'm not that out of touch because I do go see a lot of movies. And so I don't know that there's been a really big franchise kind of, great high school aged movie. So young filmmakers, go do it.
Yeah, I think that I actually also spent a lot of time thinking about this because, we were lucky to grow up in this time that had all of these, right? And so, Can't Hardly Wait and 10 Things I Hate About You.
Right.
And there were a lot of them. And I think a couple things happened. One, that these movies were very cheap to make. And then they made, $60 million. And that was a huge, that was a huge amount of money. Now they've made that transition to these big blockbuster tentpole superhero movies that they can franchise the hell out of, right? And so they will have 20 of them.
So there's no Mox action figures is what you're saying.
Right.
Lego can't go and do a Varsity Blues set.
I mean, they should.
They could.
I would buy it. I would buy it.
A whole landing strip set. I know I've heard of that somewhere. Oh my goodness, Sasha.
That's the best. That is the best.
It's such a catchy name. And I always gave credit to Friday Night Lights for it. And then I saw it in this and I was like,
no, it's not even the name is great, but the idea of a landing strip Lego set, Steve?
That's where you're going?
With a little Miss Davis?
Little Miss Davis minifig.
Oh, God.
In her white convertible.
Yeah. Oh, God. That is, I'm in. I am totally in.
I know it.
I mean, do we even need to talk about the end of this movie? I guess we should just talk about what happened real fast.
Yeah, they went to the last game and there was at halftime, they wanted to start injecting more players.
Yeah.
And, the rest of the team stood up and they finally kind of like Mox's dad had said, he finally stood up and said,
and
no,
then the
we're not
team
doing
stood
this.
behind him.
Yeah. And the team all said, no, we're not doing this. We're not going to play. Like, don't put that needle in your leg. It's not worth it. Mm-hmm. And then Lance shows up. I didn't even know he was in the locker room. There he is on his crutches.
Lance did that several times.
Yeah.
Where I was like,
okay, he's back. Yeah.
What's up,
guys? Yeah. He's just like that happy guy bouncing around. And he's so like, don't do it. They did it to me, God, right? So I know he did. I love that they didn't make him a crappy dude. I know. It was so love that.
Oh my gosh. And let's talk about that very first pep rally at the beginning where he gets up. His microphone is like 4 feet away from him, which is so funny.
Yep.
But he gives the most realistic high school senior pep rally speech I've ever seen. Yeah. I loved it so much. And I felt like in that moment, you could really see Paul Walker as an actor, right?
Yeah.
Because it was so good.
It was.
You just have to watch the scene, sports fan, because
you absolutely do.
It's so good.
So, anyways,
team
says we're not doing
halftime.
It. Yeah, you got to go, coach. If you don't, we're not gonna play.
Yeah.
And then the coach, in what was a strangely powerful scene, starts clapping it up and going out into the hallway by himself and pretending like they're all behind him.
Yeah, he's like, follow me out of here, follow me out of here.
And just slowly realizes they're not and shows himself the door.
And then he's in the tunnel.
Yeah, by himself. Yeah.
It's the most
And that was it.
Yeah. And, isolated scene.
That was it. Yeah. And then Mox gives a great pep speech.
And then what does he get?
Slow clap. He gets a, I love a slow clap. If there's anything I like better than Dad, this isn't your dream, it's my dream. It's a freaking slow clap, man. Building up. Everybody's, it was
I was so hopeful. As he was giving the speech, I was like, please. And then when I heard the first one, I was like, let's
I had
go.
captions on the second time. The slow clap popped up before and I was like, it's coming. I love it. Yeah. And then what do? They go out there and they will pass, And I mean, it's a close game, but they win. And
he lets, what's his name? Billy Bob.
Yeah.
Run in the final touchdown. For the big win of the district championship.
Right. It felt kind of like the last regular season game, but maybe we are getting a little too deep into that part.
I mean, it
was an important game.
It seemed like a funny mistake to make because it's a football movie, right? And or maybe they filmed that and then they added that voiceover later that said that I never played football again, and maybe they felt a need to he said I will graduate from Brown, they needed to bookend it sort of, or they needed to wrap it up.
Yeah, you don't know because if they were going to keep going to the playoffs, it probably would have added 40 minutes to the movie, which they didn't probably need to do.
I don't know. I wouldn't have minded.
You wouldn't mind?
No.
All those crazy hits in the you're like, oh, we're going to helicopter everybody. Yeah.
The football parts were actually like it was pretty visceral.
It was fun. Yeah, it was. It really was. And so they won the game, and then that was kind of really it. And I wonder if they did that again intentionally to really drive home the finality of how it was awesome. And then they all woke up the next day and it was done.
Yeah.
And it was just over.
Yeah.
Because
and he said something about that, right? Like that.
Yeah. And I think if they'd, talked, even if they had talked about more games in those kind of not post credits, but that voiceover at the end, it would have taken away from the fact that game ended the way that it did. And, and just we get to think about it now.
Yeah.
People like us can make a podcast about it. Get really deep in it. You tell us what you think, sports fan. What do you think the ending of the movie means?
Interpretation of the end of Varsity Blues. It was good. Great. What was your favorite scene?
My favorite scene,
besides the obvious.
Okay. I think my favorite scene. I just love a good high school house party scene. I do. Like it brings me back, right? And just all the shenanigans, all the different things, because I like seeing how they set it up too, because everybody in the scene is doing something they shouldn't be doing. And you can see a lot of cool stuff in the background that somebody set up of, random people making out or people smoking or whatever it is. Those things just make me feel very nostalgic. It really does. Like just that idea of being young and like, this is so important. And in reality, it's so unimportant, but at the same time, the consequences are reasonably low compared to the rest of your life. Totally. And it's just such I can't say any particular scene. It's just when they were having those moments, that's fun.
I thought the part where in one of those scenes where they had the guy who had graduated 20 years before or something. Do you remember that? Where he was like wearing his Letterman's jacket and they were like, so you were class of 1980 or whatever it was. Like it was something just pathetic.
Like, I haven't missed a party yet.
I haven't missed a party yet. And Tweeter is mocking him and hits him in the balls with a baseball bat and whatever and films it. Which first of all, I thought was like foreshadowing for, our video generation of, iPhones, whatever. But also, Tweeter was basically like hitting his future self, right? He would be that guy. Like that was his future because he had, clearly no other future. So I thought that was kind of funny too, where, I kind of liked the thought of Tweeter getting hit in the balls.
It was
okay, I have a surprise for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Yes.
All right, here we go.
This is our first ever surprise.
So, Sports Fan, we are on YouTube with this episode. This is a visual surprise. So, but you're gonna.
Do I have to describe it vividly for people not watching on YouTube?
You probably should. Yeah, you probably should.
It has a hanger. Oh my god.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. I can't even describe what I'm seeing. Of course, it's got your name on it.
Yeah, well, of course it does. They all did.
I know.
Right. Describe for the listeners at home who aren't watching on
anybody
YouTube.
Who's not watching, Sasha has donned a wonderfully it's you can't even call it bedazzled because they are literally medals. She has medals on her chest like a North Korean dictator. And probably more than a North Korean dictator would have. And
I worked harder
her
for
volleyball state championship pins are all over. It's her Letterman jacket.
You have to say it is my Letterman jacket.
Yeah, that's
for sure. Yeah. So it has been put on twice now in the last, since I graduated from high school, which was quite some time ago. Once was when I found it in my closet and put it on to show my kids. And the second time is that one of my kids put it on for a Halloween costume.
Right.
But decided
Kim Jong-un or...
It was decided it was too heavy. I hope that you can hear the metals clinking.
It's amazing. Like I love it. I love that they're pinned all across.
I had so many.
We're missing some?
Oh, yes. Oh. This was glory days. Absolutely.
So I have a question.
Yes.
Was it a Sasha thing? I'm guessing those were medals that you affixed, they're made to be on your...
This is actually, they designed them. So some of them, what are these?
I've not seen this before.
These are, you've not seen
I've not seen
this?
pins like on a Letterman. I've seen just little bars for years played.
Right.
But never actual meritorious service awards.
I haven't actually looked at these in quite some time. So hold on. This one is, I think they're
This made my day.
Thank you. I knew it would. Lots of track and field ones are the medals, I think. So lots of state things. Okay. The buttons were state championships for volleyball and basketball, which,
I love it.
But I thought that in the spirit, it has maybe some cat hair on it.
That's okay. I love this for you.
Thanks. I thought in the spirit of Glory Days that this would be a good way to close out this episode.
In a much healthier way.
Shout out,
like
just to
wear
Lady
this
Foxes.
Yeah, shout out for sure. Because Sasha's not going to go out there and scream at children. Instead, she's going to wear her Letterman jacket.
I mean, I think two things can be true, Steve.
Doing our recordings at the end of the week obviously suits us.
Right? Friday night.
Really
it's really appropriate.
Yeah.
Like it's a Friday night and this is a Friday Night Lights.
Yeah, this is 100%.
Episode?
So makes the cut. I'm going to beat you to it.
Oh, good
How
Lord. Like, yeah, I would give this all of the credit.
All of the cuts.
All of the cuts. Like it was, I really like this movie. I feel like we found a niche with these,
we have
90s, teen movies. Why do we like them so much?
I can only imagine why. because both of our favorite scenes were the high school parties.
Right? I don't know. Why. I like the landing strip.
You know why we love it? Because they're not thinking about what lunch they're going to pack the next day for a kiddo. They're just living it. Oh my gosh. 10 o'clock at the mini mart.
It's back to the fun thing, right?
Yeah,
so like having fun is just about enjoying life right now. You know what? We just brought it all the way back around.
We did.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was a beautiful moment. Fun is about having like enjoyment in this moment. And that is what this movie is all about.
It is.
Living for right now, not for the future, not for the past. Ooh, I like it.
One.
I like it. Sports fam. We always love to hear from you. Let us know what you thought of Varsity Blues. Let us know what we should review next. Thank you to Tina for leaving us the review of Blue Crush and letting us know we should review this. I had never seen this movie. It's just changed my life.
There we go.
See?
I love it.
At one bad teen movie at a time.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I love it. I will be back next week. Steve will be back in about a month to review another movie, but let us know what we should watch because we're always open to suggestions. Thank you very much. You can follow us on all of the socials. And like I said, this episode is available on YouTube. If you would like to see my very snazzy,
you got to do it,
Letterman's jacket with my name on it. Yeah. That's it for me today. I'll see you next week with more stories about how sports will save us all.